Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome aboard. We're just before noon on the West Coast here. My name is Stuart Jones. I'll be your host today for this webinar. We're waiting for a handful of people to join us in the next minute, and then I will get started. And I appreciate all of you joining us today. The title of our webinar today is on the screen. It says, Behind the Numbers, Honoring your team's effort in building a data-driven culture. And what I will open with for every single person here is, isn't that always what's in front of us as managers and directors of a Head Start all the time? So first I'll say thank you for spending an hour with me and with Nancy, who's my colleague at Acorn. In the middle of the week here on a Wednesday, I want to open with an acknowledgement that Head Start, as always, is very tricky and very busy all the time, especially right now in October when you're right in the middle of all of that data collection for all of your kiddos, early Head Start and Head Start, the giant mandated time-sensitive data collection period. So I'm hopeful that the content that I brought today will be of help, motivation, inspiration, focus. There could be a lot of things that come out of a webinar. But I'm with Acorn Learning. Dr. Greg Dixon is my colleague and partner. We have a small team. We support Head Start programs all around the country in all 50 states and all the territories. We've been doing this for about 15 years. We have a partnership with the National Head Start Association, several state associations, and we do professional development and consulting and training. What you see on the screen, of course, is our tagline, which is where all of you come to learn and sustain the change you want in your agencies. And that'll be a little bit of a tie-in to what we are all doing here today. So first, some quick housekeeping. I'll introduce myself in a minute and tell more about me. But we'll do introduction, go over the basics of a 1-hour webinar, and then there are 4 components that you'll see on the screen. The invisible work, a reality check. Data is your team's effort. That's our big take home today. And then a couple things you can take with you. And I want to be realistic about our time together. We have 1 hour, probably about 40 total minutes of sharing and talking. And then we'll share a little bit about what's happening at Acorn. And we will get you all out of here right at 1 o'clock Pacific time, my time here. There's my goofy picture. I'm Stuart Jones. I'm the CEO of Acorn Learning. One of my privileges is traveling, working with, and supporting Head Start and early Head Start professionals all around the country, executive directors, managers, coordinators, content area leads, everybody. I like to think that I am fluent in Head Start, not a native. I have learned Head Start. I worked very, very hard at that. So most of what I will present today will be grounded in my experience as a leader. I'm also a father of 5. I'm a child development person more than a data person. My kids are 24, 22, 20, 14, and 10. So I've got a big spread. My graduate degree is in human development, developmental psychology. So that's kind of what I bring to thinking about change and help. Some quick housekeeping. This is being recorded. You will have access to it later. That's important because you're here live. Thank you. Later, if you wanted anybody else to watch it or understand what happened in it, you will be able to make it accessible to any of your colleagues or anybody else you feel would be of interest. We have the live captioning on. You're all muted. There'll be a short anonymous survey at the end. We always collect data to make things stronger. And then in bold at the bottom, I'm inviting all of you. There are 25 of us in here. Drop what you're thinking, how you're reacting, what lands with you in the chat. I also have several prompts during the course of the webinar. What do you think? Share more. And I'd really like to encourage and invite you to take part in that, else I'll be staring at the chat, wondering if you are all actually there or working on the side doing something else. So thank you for that. We will email all these slides. Nancy will send an email summary of this webinar to each of you. The slides have a permission slip on the very front stating that you can use them in your programs for anything you want, as long as you just keep the little Acorn acknowledgement on it, which you can see in the very bottom tiny part of the slide deck. That's important because you don't have to then take pictures or do anything else or write things down as quickly as you need to. You will get all of these at the end. All right, let's start. 5 minutes. I knocked it right there where I wanted it to be. And I'll start carefully by a new statement, the invisible work, seeing what's usually unseen. And invisible work might be a little bit tricky, but I want to explore it a little bit. I want to start with daily attendance and this concept of knowing who's in your program, counting heads every single day, making sure that you are encouraging a culture of healthy attendance and how it really fits into Head Start. One of the things that I often teach or encourage you to do in the other instructional classes and learning events that we host is talk about URSI. And I can see all your names on the screen, but there's URSI, URSE, URSEA, URSA. It's a lot of ways we say this, but it's a really, really important acronym, right? You're talking about eligibility, recruitment, selection, enrollment, and attendance. And if you think about that pipeline, that's really the beating heart of every Head Start program. Who's eligible for this program? Where do we go find them? How do we choose them? How do we enroll them? And then I highlighted that A, getting them to come to the program every single day. So for every single one of you, URSI is a big word. It's an important word. It's a made-up word. But that attendance part is a big deal because it's one of the things in Head Start that requires an enormous amount of daily work, an enormous amount of daily responsibility. So we're going to start with this idea today of daily attendance. And it starts with who's here. Who came to the classrooms today? Who showed up at the centers today? A head count. Of course, if we know who's enrolled, now we can tell who's not here. And if they're not in the program on a certain day, the big question that we're required to ask is why? Why aren't you here? Then we want to find out why they're not here and record that. And I'm not going to say what happens next because the question in front of all of you as Head Start professionals is what's next. And in my learning events in my classes, I ask, does everybody here know why the Head Start program performance standards require you to contact every single caregiver of an absent child and say, hi, so-and-so is not here today. I'd like to know why. And Brandy and Monica and Raven, they're all veterans of these learning events, and write in the chat right away. I know this answer. I'm positive about this answer, and they're all absolutely correct. We want to make sure that this child is safe. And I often wonder if that's true, why don't we have a child is safe or potentially not safe code? But we'll come back to that later. What's important here is that this is a lot of work at every single step. So if we're going to end up with data around child attendance, I'm going to characterize this as the invisible chain, the invisible chain of data effort. Getting a number for child attendance, whatever that number is, that number travels through an invisible chain of effort. Behind the scenes is really what invisible means. The teacher, every single day, who counts all the heads. And for some of you, as I'm talking about this attendance chain, you may be feeling that's not how we do it. We've got, a tap-in system. We've got some kind of fancy thing. So you can replace what I'm putting on the screen with yours. But I'm talking about this behind the scenes effort. I'll come back to that. Somebody's counting heads. Somebody's taking attendance on a daily basis. There's someone at the center who then determines who's absent because we have a list of who's supposed to be there. So there's another pot of effort. The family advocate or the staff member who then says, of all those absent kids, I'm contacting their caregiver, their parent, their guardian, and saying, I want to know why. There's somebody who's usually typing that into a system. The data entry clerk, same family advocate, center person, everybody does this differently. It's the same big, huge pot of effort. And then the manager who says, since I have all this data, now I can pull it and I can use it. I can use it for reporting. I can use it for insights. I can use it for understanding. I can look for trends. I can make sure kids are safe. I can start rolling it up into different compliance things that I need. I can compute that average daily attendance number. I can look at chronic absence. So look at this in the little picture on the left. Just attendance takes an enormous amount of behind the scenes effort, tons and tons of it. So one child attendance number, this travels through this invisible chain of effort. Everybody's working, everybody has tasks every single day. That's really what we're chasing after. And the question is now, in quantifying land, how many people touch this? How many people are involved? How many minutes, hours, days does it take? Is that countable? So the first takeaway listening to me is, have you ever counted it all? Have you ever looked going, how much time, concentration, professionalism, organization, task management, mojo, how much does it take to do this? How many people touch it? How many hours of the day? And this is Head Start. I just picked attendance. If you're a health person, you're like, you haven't even talked about heights and weights or hearing screenings. Brady has a nice comment in the chat. It's a long workflow. So I'm going to take her word of long, of going, it just, if you draw it out on a piece of paper, if you look at how long all the task takes, how many people are involved, how many steps, Brandy, that may be the most helpful, step. It is a long workflow. Long can be complexity, long can be all kinds of things. That's Head Start, heights, weights, family partnership agreements, goals, home visits. So many things have those workflows and have those steps. So here's where I'll invite you to join the others who have been in the chat already. And we'll just talk about the PIR, the Program Information Report. And if you're familiar with this, you'll be able to answer. And if you're not as familiar, you won't. But how many people's effort does it take for your PIR to be compiled and submitted? And be as specific as you can. So I'm going to pause here and just let you riff on this in the chat. But I just did attendance, just daily attendance, and Brandy said it's a long workflow. Let's talk about the PIR. And you can join Brandy. I'll give you a moment to reflect. This is an all call. Anything you want to drop in here will be helpful. And I want to point out that as we are crowdsourcing answers to this, and learning-wise, I would encourage you to do this in your programs all the time. The way that we do it pedagogically, that's pedagogy is the method and practice of teaching. The way we do it at Acorn is, what do you think? Everybody thinks. And then we pull things out of it that help us. So I want you to look at the wisdom and the experience from all of you, people that add a webinar to their plate on a Wednesday in the middle of Head Start. Hi, welcome. Thank you for being here. You're going to notice what you see in the chat as all the things being true at the same time. So the first is 160 of our staff, like one way to answer this is everybody. Everybody touches the PIR because the PIR is this program information report where everybody's work ends up in some way. So that's true. Amy said it also, the entire number of staff. Katie took it along a little more technically. While that's also true, everybody's working, contributing, 2 or 3 people, 5 hours, right, to finalize, upload the reports. And by the way, if you're listening to that going, whoa, then Katie's going to drop her email in the chat and talk about how they do that so efficiently. I'm just kidding. She's not going to do that unless she wants to. Monica says, depends on the question. The frontline staff, family advocates and teachers entering data, center managers do the reports, program admin reviews the reports, then I review the reports. Lots of people, all staff. Our program's locally designed. Our processes are quite different. We have all these different specialists that enter data. Then we have specialists who enter the BIR data and pull reports. All staff. Staff in the field complete it. Coordinators review it. It's reviewed at the admin level. For our program, it involves everyone. FAs making sure the enrollment data is correct. Teachers making sure the attendance is correct. So I kept this really broad. This is a requirement of the federal government that funds you so that they can at least have what they would consider to be evidence that you're doing all the things you were paid to do in the program. If this was a contest and they brought in Acorn and a whole bunch of other people and they said, we want you to count exactly how much time it takes to do the PIR, all of the effort that everybody's doing is running the program. The report itself is what we're talking about here. I'm going to start with Katie and say, the report compilers, the report people, what do they do? How long does it take? Who touches this? But it's going to be a lot of hours around compliance. So I've opened with invisible work, behind the scenes work. Someone's worrying about this. Somebody has to know how to do it. Somebody has to start the work of counting it and adding it up and writing it down and starting with their spreadsheet and opening up the report and saying, do we have numbers for all these things? Somebody's good at this. Somebody thinks about it in their car, driving. And is that work invisible, or can you quantify it? So the first takeaway in this first little section of what I'm sharing today is, can you add it all up? And if you can you use that data often? Can it be featured at pre-service, at management meetings, at a policy council, at a board report? The effort is worth quantifying and getting it down to specific nerdery. And I'm using that word to say, I would want to count that. Cindy wrote on the screen, FA is making sure the enrollment data is correct. How long does that take? How many days? How many minutes? How much worrying? And remember that the actual sitting at the computer doing the task is one way to look at effort. The other way is someone's worrying and thinking about it in addition to their plate all the time. All right, Amy wrote something that I think is very helpful for us. We have a data team. They're tasked with compiling and finalizing it. It literally takes the entire months of July and August to ensure what was done throughout the year is accurate, ready for submission. Amy has nailed what I see the most in Head Starts, is there are people for whom this is their full-time, all-the-time job, either all year or when it comes time to get it ready towards the buzzer to submit it. And that's what I would start to add up and say, how much work is this just for the PIR? I did attendance. We could spend the next 5 days listing every single thing in the program performance standards, all the teams that have to do it, and quantifying and adding up that data. Please look at the top of the slide. Invisible might not be the right word, but how behind the scenes is it? Is it taken for granted? Does anybody know how long it takes and how much worrying, mastery, responsibility there is in it? And I think that's really important. I run several businesses that I have had the responsibility and the stress and the pleasure and the interesting part of being an entrepreneur. And adding up my day, how much time do I spend on fiscal? How much time do I spend on marketing? How much time do I spend networking? How much time do I spend supervising my team? And those numbers, as I'm moving them all around my effort, they become really important to me. And from a leadership perspective, am I spending my worry, my responsibility, and my time on the right things? So when we're going all the way back to the premise of this webinar, knowing the answers, the stats, the facts is really important. Is it invisible and behind the scenes-y? Does anybody know just how much it takes? Have you ever added it all up before? And this is not a webinar on how to do that. It's a webinar on how you go, I don't know, have we? So that's part one. Part two, reality check. The reality check is the emotional cost of data work. And this is the key of what my team here at Acorn has been learning from all of you as we get to know you and work alongside you, teaching and doing learning events, watching you turn in trainings and hopes and dreams for your staff. Look at the emotional cost of data work. So I'm just going to place some truths on the screen. I feel they're true. I feel like I could sit at a table in the halls of a NHSA conference and stick this on there, and then underneath it'd be like, prove me wrong, or let's have an argument, or come up and let's debate. I don't think this one would be much of a debate. Too many systems, too little time. This might be probably the number one theme in Head Start. In Head Start, data often feels like judgment instead of celebration. Judgment instead of celebration. I came up with that a while ago. It usually lands pretty well in resonant land. That judgment context could be from outside, from the Office of Head Start, from regional, from support, from FA1, FA2, from Danya, DLH, from anybody. Did you do it? Did you do it in full? Is it right? Why is it late? We're not done yet. Instead of celebration of just how much effort there was involved. Most of us inherited the data systems we use. We did not build them ourselves. Some of you have switched from one to another, and I think that then has you get to start from scratch or build it up. But most of you said, this is the one we use. This is how you use it. You did not build it. It was kind of given to you off the shelf. And I find that to be very important. You have to use this tool. The world of Head Start equals multiple content areas equals multiple systems. So here's another truism. Compliance pressure plus turnover plus lack of faith in funding, which is happening right now, equals data fatigue. And if you are all on screen, I might do what I like to do a lot and say, raise your hand if you're experiencing data fatigue, or if the term data fatigue resonates with you in some way, or if you've seen data fatigue with your teachers or your family advocates or your home visitors or anybody like that. And I think it's a term worth looking into, is what does that mean? So I'm playing with these statements. Jesselyn, I see you. I'm playing with these statements. I'm putting on the screen. It's you too, Camille. Many teams are asked to be data-driven before they've had a chance to catch their breath. You could join anybody in the thumbs up, but those two things go side by side. Get everything done, do everything in 45 days and 60 days and 30 days and all the days, and do it, and now be data-driven. Use your data to do continuous quality improvement. Like we just got finished trying to collect, code, enter, analyze, report. It's like almost two conflicting things at the same time. And I find that to be true. That's something I've experienced when I'm out saying, hey, look, now you can use all your data, and everyone's kind of still reeling from just trying to get all the data. When Nancy sends you all these slides later, these slides are designed, and I didn't put this in my presentation, but these slides are designed for your leadership team. Slide them in just as is with a little chart and a little statement. Does this apply to us? How do we feel about this? Is this a truth? To what extent is this true? And then this one, which is the truest thing in the world. The vast majority of every single Head Start and early Head Start professional, they show up every single day and do the work in good faith until it is complete. I have hardly ever experienced a Head Start team that isn't working at max effort and max caring. We've got one of you driving around with ASQs in your trunk. We have another person calling every single teacher to make sure that the measures are in the database. We've got the last hearing screenings being put in. I mean, everybody is tirelessly working to get this all done. I have never seen anyone go, we're not going to do it. We're not going to finish all the kids. Never seen that before. So this is a little bit of an experiment I'm putting on the screen for all of you right now. It's your second opportunity to pop into the chat. We had about 5 or 6 people do it before. I'm gonna ask for more. If your data could talk, what would it say about your team's effort? And this is just kind of a creative, fun one. So have fun with this. What data would be talking? your attendance data, your DRDP, your gold data, your heights, your weights, your FPAs data. If it could talk, what would it say? And try to be specific. What content area? Who has to know what? How much work is involved? How much mastery is involved to collect and code and enter and analyze and report? So I'm going to give you a moment here. I'm curious to see what gets into the chat. But let's play with this one. If your data could talk, what would it say about your team's effort? About how much work it took to get me, to make me. I want to point out that Brandy is off to a great start for all of you. So here's the data talking. Check me out. This looks great. You're using me. I'm happy. You're not looking at some of me. Do you need me? Do you need this? I think that's very clever. We're off to the right. We're off to the right start. And Jennifer is kind of sliding right in behind Brandy. The data's talking, going, there's so much of me. Are you going to use me? I'm going to try to do it, Amy. You can't handle the truth. That's very good. That's excellent. I love that. What else? We have 3 of 28 people in here. All right. See what Raven wrote? It's pretty cool, right? Here's what the data says. Everybody's working super hard. I won't be able to tell you everything that's really going on. Sorry that I'm only a few of the numbers. I'm making that up, Raven, but I think that's really cool. All right, Camille's got a really cool example. One of the first ones we've seen here. She's talking about the ASQs. So that's ages and stages questionnaire. The parents fill it out. My child is doing this right now. Not quite yet. Sometimes. And she said, here's what the data says. Please use me. I'm ready. I'm telling you where this child is. Use me to help them. Keep an eye on them. Pat them on the back. Good job. Keep going. Or, uh-oh, we're going to help you. That's exactly what ASQ data is saying. Use me. Help the kids. Keep working. I want to make this point right now with a sledgehammer. If the data can talk, it's like, this was worth it to work hard to get. Use me for this. Notice what Monica wrote. The data, we're improving, we're working. This is us caring about the kids. Look at all these numbers that help us care about the kids. Look at all these numbers that show that the parents now have a medical home. It was worth it, cajoling them and calling them and pushing them. And did you do your appointment? Look, it was worth it. You worked so hard to get all those parents tied to a medical home. Oh, Debbie, I'm going to put a gold star on Debbie's. How am I going to do it? I'll put a heart. Debbie Jones. My data would say, look at me more often. I'm here. Use me. You collected me. You put me in the database. Use me. Look at me. Look, I have stuff to tell you. Debbie, I love that. Brandy's, another Brandy clever one is like, almost like a chat GPT. Do you need help using me? I can make myself into a chart. Wouldn't that be nice? Look at Jessica's. Good job. The kids are going up here. You should look in LLD, language and literacy development. Peek in here. There's something in here you should be looking at. By the way, wouldn't it be great if our data did this? Look here. Pay attention to this. Cindy said chronic absenteeism data. Look, we have to convince parents to send their kids. You're collecting all this stuff. You're on the right track. Keep working on the grants and the Harpers and the Reeds and the Briggses. They'll come. Don't give up on your messaging. They're still absentish. They're still missing Mondays and Fridays. Jessica's, I can be used for advocacy. Show all these lawmakers that this sucker works. Okay. What you see on the screen, what we just did, you guys are a bunch of A players. You are. You're data leaders. You're voluntarily at an Acorn webinar. You can do this activity with your staff, with your teachers. You can do this exact thing. And if you might want to strengthen my version of it. This is a very broad version of it. I was optimistic that you guys would step up and hammer it in the chat. And you did. Cleverly, really intelligently, creatively. If your staff can't answer this, then you've got a huge opportunity in front of you. The way, if you do this with some of your staff, they're like, if would say about our team's effort, you did it, especially when the manager was up your butt. Like, you did it, yay, done, finished. You're like, that's not what it would say. They go, that's what it says to me. Complete. Good job, complete. That's a bummer of an answer. I mean, it's kind of true. That was our second thing we're doing today. Let's move on to our third thing. Data is your team's effort. If you've been in a Acorn learning event, rarely does one go by when me or one of the other people, we're not kind of screaming this from the rooftops. It's the entire point of today's webinar. So if the first takeaway was count all the effort, and the second takeaway is what would your data say with all this truths of this emotional toll? The third one here is the truth. Data is everybody's hard work. So some more truisms here. Data culture is people culture. How staff feel about data, literally their emotions, determines how well they're going to use it. That's just true. And you can take this slide and stick it right in the middle of your manager's meeting and say, since this is true, then we should really be working on how staff feel about data, because it's going to affect every single thing that we do. So what does a healthy data climate look like? Well, these are the things that I would see. I was just at a big Head Start program in Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago. I flew out there and worked with their leadership team all day in a big group and small groups. And it was a wonderful trip, and they were a especially strong team. And these are the things that I saw that day in that work. Curiosity. So much curiosity. What's in here? What could we do differently? Are we on the right track? Is this right? What more might we be able to do with our limited time? Those are good things. Curious. Shared ownership. We, not big silos of the ERSI person and the education person, but all the team working together across content areas to unify their language, to build that culture. And then so much empathy. This is hard. This takes a lot of work. It's confusing. I'm not sure we're going in the right direction. These are indicators of health, of good things. Collaboration, deliberateness. That curiosity is a big deal. Every piece of data represents human effort, and honoring that effort is how you build a data-driven culture. This is exceptionally true. Now, I'm a teacher. I taught psychology. I do like theories. I do like frameworks. I want you to hang with me while I throw one at you here. Again, you will get these slides. I like pyramids. Maslow was very smart to place basic needs at the bottom of the pyramid, right? And then the next level until you get to this self-actualization. Well, right here, you've got a very simple data pyramid with effort at the bottom. So what belongs at the bottom of this pyramid if you're talking about effort, data, and insight? And this is what belongs at the bottom of the pyramid, and I would just encourage you in whatever context you have in your agencies to use this. What belongs at the bottom of the pyramid in all this daily work is acknowledgement. We did this together. Appreciation. We know how much work this was. And we're describing that. We're publishing that. We are counting and quantifying that. The math is important to us. And finally, support. We're here to help get this done at all levels. This is a shared responsibility. We are all solving this endless task and time puzzle together. Just like Maslow, just like basic needs for humans in your Head Start and early Head Start classrooms, if everyone is not fed and watered and got sleep, everything breaks. Just like that with the pyramid, if those three things aren't in place, appreciation, acknowledgement, and support, everything's going to be unwieldy. There's not going to be the pyramid in which you can get to the top. What belongs in the middle, and this is from years, and this is my most strong personal opinion here, a good report. Narrator, not the compliance reports that come out of most of your databases showing the circles and how close things are wrapped up or done, but a good report. And what is a good report? Something that clearly shows the work that was done, captured accurately enough, captured accurately enough, and being able to be used for something other than counting it as done. What was the result of that hard work? I will go back in the chat to Camille, who talked about the ASQs. A good report would show you here is where all your kids are relative to the black and the gray and the white. And here are all the action steps that you can take next to make sure that children are getting the support and intervention they need in this very fragile 0 to 5 window so that they have the best chance to be typically developing and ready for school, and their parents are educated about that and on board. What does that report look like? I'm not going to answer that right now, but that would be a good report that ties all the effort of getting all those parents to fill out all those questionnaires into something that's going to happen next besides done, complete, finished, racked. What results at the top? If you've done the acknowledgement and the appreciation and the support, and if they're able to see what happened, then you get the result to say, wow, we did it. We understand why the work was worth it. And now we can make a decision. Otherwise, it's just compliance. It's just tasks. It's just counting. That's it. Effort's the base of the pyramid. The data part in the middle is, does it tell us what we need to feel about? And then can we do it? So now we're wrapping up because we've had this hour barely. So thanks for being at the webinar to look at these things for 1 second. But what to do next? What things I want you to take away from today, besides these slides? Recognition rituals. And I know if you've been in our Acorn world for a while, you're doing these things. Or I'm hopeful you're doing these things. Set up data gratitude moments. Share a chart or a data visualization and name the people behind it. Name the people behind it. I do want to take the responsibility of providing one good example today, because otherwise we're in this theoretical realm. And the humans in Head Start with whom I feel a great degree of empathy and sympathy and concern are teachers. And I want to talk about the DRDP, which is the Desired Results Developmental Profile. If you don't use the DRDP, you can replace that word with GOLD or CORE or any other observational assessment that your program is using with your children. So I'm just going to focus on Head Start, but I am going to use the DRDP as the example. So we know in a classroom, and again, we're going 3 to 5 here, Head Start. And if these numbers are not your numbers, put your own numbers in. But we'll say there's 17 to 20, 3 to 5-year-olds in a classroom. This DRDP assessment, whether you're at 50 plus or 30 in some kind of essential view, or you're in the 2025 using it pure, 36 measures, I put a little guy. 20 kids, 36 measures, 3 times a year. Fall, winter, spring. Each teacher. Let's do some effort math. Each classroom, all those measures, 3 times a year. That's 2,160 of what? For a lead teacher in a classroom, that's 2,160 efforts. That's 2,160 tasks. That's 2,160 things to do that can be individualized. And I'm not done, because 20 kids times 36 measures times 3 per year, 2,160. A measure doesn't just mean you sit down and type in a measure. A measure means that teachers must make observations that translate into documented moments. So they're watching and going, oh, I just saw this happen. I want to document that. And according to most observational assessments in the DREP, it takes 2 or 3 observations to credibly create, score, document a measure. So I will just multiply 2,160 by 2 here. So how does this relate to effort? And this is my example for you today, because it's worth adding up. You're expecting each of your teachers to complete thousands of tiny acts of professional judgment. Thousands of tiny acts of professional judgment. And they're supposed to fit that into what? 9 to 12, 9 to 3, with breaks, with lunch, with routines, with teaching. I have never totally understood, and I was a teacher, how this is exactly supposed to work. And there are people in this room that do. But the next math that I would do, I'd probably use ChatGPT for this, is I would say if there's 2,160 tasks related to measures and there are 5,000 observations, how do you fit that into our calendar and our days? When is the observation time supposed to occur? If you put that all in, I'm going to do that math in my head very quickly. It's going to be at least 90 to 120 minutes a day, 180 days of just doing this like a machine. Kids can't interrupt you. They can't slow you down. But this is what I'm talking about with quantifying effort. Because once you get your staff involved with this, whether it comes down to home visit documenting, all that, I think you might get to a point where 2 things are true at the same time. One, there's kind of no way to do it, or it's extremely challenging. And 2, they're doing it anyway. And I think that those things need to be talked about to the extent that's professional and acknowledged for effort. So if a recognition ritual, to go back to this, is set up data gratitude moments, I think at some point everybody needs to know what's in front of these teachers to say it's 20 kids times 36 measures and 3 times a year, it's 2,160 tasks, things you have to do. And I think that that's important. I want you to see what Katie just wrote, because she did what I always love. She said, we ask teachers, especially leads, to collect far more data than they have time, let alone time to do with quality. The thousands of DRDP observations are only part of the tools they use. I think it would be better if some of the burden was spread to other roles. Katie? Yes, definitely. And, I always say and, Head Start's so tricky. If we could do that, we maybe would have done it already, or maybe there would be a way to do it. But Head Start is additive. They, OHS, always adds something else to do, state, preschool, everything. All right, last bit here. And I want to acknowledge that this was the fastest hour. And all that I like to do in these webinars is get you what I would call appropriately agitated. Leading a healthier data culture. Language shifts. I don't like to say stop, but I'm saying it now. Stop saying we need better data. Start saying we need to support our people with what Katie just said. 2, every time you roll something up or make a report, every single time you create that, press go, that is just an opportunity for gratitude and acknowledgement. Every time. And then finally, this integrating reflection at the end of every month. What did this data teach us about how we work together? What did this data teach us about how this is going? What did this data teach us about effort? And then I like to backfill that. If the data could be talking to us right now, what would it say? And there were so many clever things earlier in the chat. Before I go into some of the things coming up for Acorn to wrap up our time together, another invite into the chat. I'm inviting everybody to join in here. What did you take away from this? What has you thinking? We had a short amount of time together. Let me try to be as structured as possible as your facilitator. What's landed with you so far and why? And I'll give you a moment to pop that in the chat. I'd love everybody to pop in there if you can. This is where it would be cool if the Zoom chat was like the iPhone, where it's like Mary is typing and Lamar is typing and Brandy is typing and Katie is typing, so you could see that. Thanks, Brandy. Thanks, Melanie. If the only thing you're taking out of our time together in the middle of the day or late in the day on a Wednesday is maybe I could do another thing, I'm happy about that. And that's why we go to webinars. We need little bursts of action inspiration. I love experiments. So when Brandy says, talk to each component group and see how the data is speaking to them, Brandy, if you want to run that experiment, Nancy could drop my email in the chat. I want to know how that goes. Was it a crash and burn? Were they creative? So if you run that, I'm in. I would love to hear that. Melanie, when you said you love the idea of data gratitude moments, having them complement each other is an excellent way to do it. I run a summer camp. We have a little card that says, I like so-and-so. Here's what they did. Here's why I liked it. I think that's a really cool thing that you can do. And you end up with a lot of cards of people who can label what they see and appreciate each other. And Debbie, I like what you wrote there at the end. I want to use some of the data questions with my leadership staff. I don't believe we need more data. We usually don't. But we need to get much more out of the data we have instead of creating more. I also will say what was buried in the chat earlier a little bit was the data saying to you, do you need me? Am I necessary? Are you supposed to be looking at me? Because there are so many things that we collect that we don't use. And I did not expand on the point that I just made there in this presentation. But a way to not acknowledge effort is to require someone to collect something and submit it that is not being used. That's a killer. That's a super killer. Monica, I'm glad that you elevated the word judgment. I had that as one of the truths earlier, is that judgment versus celebration. And it's real tricky for all of you because you are the judges. You have to be. It's not done yet. It's not correct. We don't have enough to comply. And I did not acknowledge your role in this. I want to appreciate all of you. And I'm assuming by your roles who you are in here, you're the ones who'd have to toe the line. I'm trying to celebrate and acknowledge everybody, and I'm the one responsible. If it doesn't get done, we're busted. And I know this. And I think it's important. Jessica, I love what you wrote. Something I'm going to think more about is presenting data in a way that sparks conversation and curiosity. And one way you can do that is go, what does this tell you? What's it saying? If it could talk, what would it say? And then they have to be curious and creative, and then they're talking to each other. So I don't know if that's accessible, but just like what Brandy said earlier, the experiment she's going to run is give it a shot. And my wife's a clinical psychologist. She would say if they're not doing it, then they don't know how to do it yet. And I'll close that with that comment because I think it's really important. If they don't know how to do it or they're not doing it for you, then they don't know how to do it yet. And it's your job to teach them and be patient and facilitate the conditions that they will learn how to do it. They're not dumb, they're not uninterested, they're not bored, they're not confused. And if they are any of those things, then you undo that by creating the conditions for them to do it. Okay, real quick here in the last several minutes, please hang around. What's happening with us at Acorn, and our job is to support you. Your job is to be supported. So if we have something coming up in which you're interested, Nancy's in here. We have a terrific website with everything posted and open for enrollment. Dr. Greg, my colleague, he made us a YouTube channel. So if you don't know about it, go to YouTube. It's at Acorn Learning, and he's made a whole bunch of free videos. And I think you will have a good time exploring this and seeing the videos, because you can share them with colleagues. You can have your staff watch them. And just like Raven said, who's in our data literacy credentials, sometimes watching a 8-minute video, a 1-minute video, a 20-minute video has you go, that again, that's good. I remember that. It's important. And motivation is important for all of us. So he's put a lot of good videos on here, and we're trying to add to it and add to it and add to it. So please do that. Data Camp is our flagship product. It is 2 days, 3 hours a day. So most of these dates are either Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, coming up in December and January. It is 3 hours on day 1, 3 hours on day 2. I am the teacher, and we do data as our team's effort. We do data in context. We do tracking, monitoring, process outcomes. We do some storytelling pieces. We do data capacity. So they're the big things. The reason we do it at this point of year is you're done with all the fall stuff, blah, and you have the rest of the program here in front of you, and it's a really good time to say, what should we be thinking about? Just like today, what do I want to try to install in my program? It's for every single content lead, manager, site supervisor, director, all the leaders of Head Start. And it's all written up on our website. These are our cohorts of professional learning. I see many names in here who have graduated from them or been involved. The newest offering we have is a manager skills certificate. Narrator, it has nothing to do with data. It's all about leading in a Head Start. If I was pressed, I would tell you that it's the closest thing to an MBA that you can get in Head Start. It is 5 workshops once per month. You pop in, you do the workshop, you have the whole rest of your month to go install it, forget it, like it, use it. But they have components you can look at on our website: better meetings, creating a culture of motivation, communicating with confidence. It's an absolutely terrific program. I'm super proud of it. I invite all of you to join the next cohort in January. We have our data literacy credential, which is our partnership with NHSA. And then Greg has spun up 2 new classes. This is the data literacy credential. It's 8 weeks, 2 Zooms a week. The practical data skills certificate for Head Start, Greg is the teacher of it. This is a really excellent class that he has simplified to say, if you're a content lead and you're trying to get data out of the database and manage and motivate and work and use it, I'm going to help you do that. So he named it Practical Data Skills Certificate for Head Start. All of this stuff Nancy has dropped in the chat. You can see on our Acorn Learning website. And then this one, the super simple Dr. Greg version of take stuff out of your database and make really good pictures and really good data visualizations. We used to have a much longer, more expensive, richer version of this, which we still do. But this is the fast and dirty one. So if you want to show up and get good at this quickly, sign up for this with Greg. It's excellent. It'll be great. Brandy, thank you for what you wrote in the chat. It's very timely. All right, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to ask, you have 2 choices. Ask it now in the chat, and I shall answer it in front of everybody. Or number 2, please stick around after Nancy closes up the webinar. But one thing I want to do for everybody right now, and go ahead if you have anything you want to ask, you can drop it in about any of the classes or anything we covered today. I do want to say this. The people who tend to go to these webinars are the change makers. So if you saw anything here today that you liked, go do it. Go be a change maker. I know that this is one of the hardest times there's ever been in Head Start. So I just want to say my team salutes you. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with us here on a Wednesday. Good luck to all of you in your endeavors. stay in touch with us, and I hope to see you at an upcoming learning event for Acorn.